Jerusalem, Land of Hope and Glory, and Rule Britannia had all fallen on deaf ears. But then, the Market Bosworth group launched into a song that was popular at rugby clubs across the land.
I started Swing Low, and it just...
Nobody really knew what it was or where it came from, but it just became this, it almost became the supporters' anthem for the England team.
I'm married to a Scotswoman, and for 27 years, every time it gets sung, I sit there and I say, I started that, and I think after 27 years, she's had enough now.
Welcome to this week's edition of You Can't Say Anything These Days. It's political correctness gone mad. Are they really about to ban Swing Low, Sweet Chariot from England rugby games? Surely not. It's been a hallmark of the England rugby squad since, the 90s? I can't believe it. A lot of people will be up in arms about that. But if you want to see cultural appropriation, is there any better example than this? The famous haka. Have a look at that. This is celebrated in New Zealand by the white community, or it's been adopted by them. You can hear it being drowned out there by the good old Swing Low, Sweet Chariot. I wonder how long before New Zealand, the All Blacks, are asked not to perform the haka anymore. Or is that okay? Is it okay for the All Blacks, who are mostly all white, not all, but most. Rugby is a majority white sport in the Southern Hemisphere. It took a long time for black athletes of the Springboks in majority black South Africa to break through into the team. Rugby is a very imperial game in and of itself. It spread to the countries that had empire. So maybe it's not a surprise that white athletes, white sports fans, majority, would sing a black African song with the arrogance of not knowing where it came from. I'll acknowledge my arrogance now. I had no idea that it was an African spiritual with roots in the slave trade and the aftermath of the transatlantic slave trade. Obviously, Prince Harry is backing the move to ban it. Maybe that's a surprise. He's a part of the establishment, the elite, but he broke with many traditions when he became one of the first members of the royal family to marry a divorced woman. So maybe he's well ahead of the game. I'd love your opinion on this, and I haven't really put my cards on the table yet, so you can't really tell me whether you agree or disagree. But the number is 07491751203. Jamie P is asking me, has anyone actually been offended by this until today? Yeah, it's been sung for a long time. Didn't we realise we were offended? And the Imperialist is saying, I'm not usually a rugby fan, but this new thing these SJWs are doing takes the P. It sure does. I don't want to swear or we'll get banned. We've got a caller on line one. Hello, who's this?
Hello, Tiger. It's me, Saj.
Hello, Saj. Welcome back. You're welcome, Saj. You're famously not politically correct. What do you make of all this political correctness and rugby fans?
I hate all of this stuff. I think it's so overly sensitive. I don't understand. I like the Dr. Dre version of Swing Down, Sweet Chariot, and Let Me Ride. I like that version. I don't know much about this version, but yeah. There's two different versions.
Would you be offended if maybe something from your culture caught on and became popular without people giving it due respect?
I think that every country has a culture. And do you mean in England or do you mean in Pakistan?
All right. For example, you're Pakistani. I'm stretching it a bit. Do you find it annoying when white people dance along to songs like Punjabi MC's One Hit Wonder, whatever it was, and they do the screw the light? I mean, I know you're not Punjabi, but the Punjab spreads into Pakistan and India. Do you find it annoying when white English people or any non-Asians, let's say, dance to that particular song in a sort of a mocking way? Screw the light bulb.
I like the way you just quickly politically corrected yourself on here.
I'm a PC guy. What can I say?
And
that's why my channel's still up.
So a friend of mine, 53 years old, a white lady, we was eating one day and she ate the naan with her fork rather than her hand. I felt offended by that.
Did you really though? But you didn't really though, did you? Are you just feigning offence?
I did. No, I told her straight away. I said, look, why you got a fork for? Why you trying to edit a cultural tradition of how we eat? Have some respect, put the fork away, use your hand.
Was this conversation taking place in England?
Yeah, in her house.
Then you should have respect and use a knife and fork like a civilized society would.
Wow, what a disrespectful thing you just said. You're trying to say that uncivilized people use their hands to eat.
I've got to dish it out evenly on this show. Let's find out about Swing Low, Swing Chariot. It's an African spiritual song, earliest known recording 1909. Okay, so it's not as old as maybe we thought, and it refers to the biblical story of the prophet Elijah, who was, of course, a black man, being taken into heaven by a chariot. So it's a Christian song. England is a Christian country. They've got the cross of St. George in the middle of their flag. Isn't it fair to sing a Christian song? It's a song from people of our same religion. Am I clutching at straws there, Saj, to try to justify it? In the chat, Jamie P was saying no one was singing it to antagonise someone. I agree, Jamie P. I don't think they were. But you can unwittingly offend people. Someone phoned up yesterday and called Saj a gay black man. And I have to say that Saj is not black whatsoever. And PK is saying it's not disrespectful if you don't know the culture you are offending in your own country. I think that's a reference maybe to your conversation. Cuggy Bear, I always love to hear from him, is saying I will always sing Swing Low, Sweet Chariot at a rugby game. It's funny, you get messages from people and you associate just screen names. Cuggy Bear is obviously, I guess, from the UK. For some reason I thought he might have been American, and he's saying that people want to be offended. Yeah, is there a sense that we want to be offended? Is life so great now that we've banned slavery, now that we're on our way to being a lot less racist than we were before? Still problems, not perfect, but now that we have a much better society, are we picking holes in things that before perhaps we would have not been upset by? Are we just looking for reasons to be offended? But here's an interesting one. In 1939, Nazi Germany's Reich Music Examination Office added the song, that's the song we're talking about, Swing Low, Sweet Chariot, to a list of undesired and harmful musical works. Yeah, I know. Why don't we ban the song just like the Nazis did? Why don't we burn the books just like the Nazis did? And it's listed here as having a significant role in the 1960s civil rights. If anything, isn't this the opposite of racist? The fact that a black spiritual and civil rights anthem is being sung by 60,000 drunk Englishmen and some women in there, and in between. We've got to get everyone included these days. You can't say anything these days. Is it not a good thing that, one, they're singing this song, and is it not even better now that we know the history a little bit more? Knowledge is, well, a little knowledge can be dangerous, yes, but it's always good to learn more. And PK is asking, can we ban Coldplay? Well, Coldplay has obviously offended PK for some reason. Maybe it's just offended his ears. Tevin, yeah, how long before they banned Tevin Campbell? I was playing Tevin Campbell at the beginning of my videos, but I stopped out of fear of maybe a copyright strike. But Saj, any other examples of you being offended by political correctness before I free the lines up for some of the right wing, hopefully? I'd love to hear from them.
So in America, I was having a laugh. Well, I know Americans can be a bit different in terms of sensitivity. They don't understand sarcasm as much as English.
Yeah,
that's what I seem to come across.
Because sarcasm's funny.
Yeah, but I said to her something about, you know how we say here, oh, you're all right for an old lady.
Yeah.
It's nothing to me. She goes, what did you say? And I said, I just said, you're all right for an old lady. She goes, how dare you say that? That's ageism. I was like, is there always going to be an ism now? Is this the society we live in? Ism this? Homo this? I mean, homophobic this? This? All of this stuff, you know?
Phobia. Yeah, there's a lot of phobias out there. But maybe that's just a cultural difference between us and the Yanks, if I'm allowed to use that term. I hope it doesn't offend anyone. That they Yanks. I know. But in America, Yank means people from the north, right?
New Yorkers.
Yeah, the New York Yankees. All right, Saj, I'm going to free the line up for the far right, hopefully, as I love to get their take on this. But let's see what happens. All right, join us in the chat. All right.
I've never realised a guy that loves hearing from the far right as much as you do.
Well, you're far left, so we got to swing the balance, swing low. Right, Saj, we'll catch up in a bit. Nice one.
Take a good night.
Nice one. There goes Saj. He can't say anything these days. That's rude even here. And we go straight to the calls. I thought someone would be on when Saj got off. Who's this? Welcome.
This is the far right.
Superb. We love to hear from the far right. Welcome.
I'm joking, of course. Hello.
That sounds like PK. Welcome back.
It is PK.
Good man.
I'm the far right.
No. Well, it always depends where you're looking from. We got you. We're hearing you loud and clear.
Round table, Julian. There's always someone to the left of you, and there's always someone to the right of you.
That is spot on. And if you go far enough, you go all the way round.
On the round table, there is no middle on the round table, my friend.
Absolutely right. Well, before I've queued up Major from Fawlty Towers. I don't know if you're a fan of Basil Fawlty and co. But if you've got anything on the rugby before we move it on to Fawlty Towers, what's your take on the rugby?
On the rugby? Well, do you know what? I had no idea that song was written by an ex-slave. Someone that was a free man but was a slave. Is that correct?
I don't know. And the fact that the earliest recording of it was, I think, 1901 we had on the screen. Nobody was legally a slave by that time. But he could have been an older man who was a slave. So it was obviously written after slavery. I think the point here is we're all shocked that this was written by a black man and it has the deep roots in the black church. But I don't know if you know this, but many of the popular chants around the football ground are all hymns, like "You're Not Singing Anymore." I can't remember which hymn that is, but it's a something. Keep me something evermore. Bread of Heaven. I think it's Bread of Heaven. Yeah. So "You're Not Singing Anymore" was originally Bread of Heaven. They've ripped off a Christian song. No one's got offended about it because it's not a particularly black Christian song. But all these songs that you want to sing up loudly in a big crowd, I'm not surprised they come from black churches, because if you've been to a Pentecostal church or majority black church, they often are. Are you I wouldn't have you down as a rugby fan, but maybe you're going to surprise me.
I'm a fan of all sports, Julian. Of course, boxing is a passion, as you know. Yeah. I do love rugby. I love watching the rugby. I love watching football. And what I like, with the rugby song that we're talking about there, I have no idea. I'm educated today with that one.
Me too. Aren't we all better off now that we know?
Yeah. I think it's fantastic, isn't it? Because, you know, it's such a positive thing, is it not?
I think so. Unless when you put the phone down and we get someone from the far left to balance it out, and they can tell me why.
Well,
I'm eager to know.
Quickly, very quickly, and your audience might, people in the chit chat and all that might have comment on this, but you know the Seattle chop zone or Chaz or whatever it was called.
Yeah,
right?
This is the autonomous zone in Seattle that the protesters have sealed off.
Correct. There's a video just come out where they have a black zone only for black people.
Do they really? Racial segregation is up and running again.
Well, this is exactly a little bit like South Africa was.
And America was in the 50s, certainly.
What a funny thing, eh? That the progressive left is now segregating the white man from the black man. And guess who was on the border of this segregation? But it was white people. What a funny sense of deja vu that is.
It is. Obviously, they are going to put a completely different spin on it, or claim to have a completely different spin.
There is no debate about it.
No, I agree. But they will say, I assume they will say, we're protecting black people from the evil police officers.
White people now have to protect the white people. Oh my God, these big black strong men and powerful women need protecting from the white people. Oh, please do me a favour, Julian. Nobody needs protecting from us because we're not there to get them. That's just nonsense. And these people in that zone we're talking about, the Chaz zone, are playing out, acting like was back in the past, and they can't see the irony in there. I mean, I would think it was either it's comedy, or they really are blind to what they're doing.
Unfortunately, PK, history will often repeat itself. We're talking about swings and the pendulum. It will often go one way and then the other before it finds the equilibrium, and we find some sanity. I think that's a regressive act to start racially segregating people. I don't think that's a good idea anyway. What about the...
And I'm supposedly slightly right-wing, and
I know.
Here's me saying, look at that, that's ridiculous.
We're on the same page. I can't believe it must be a very big page we're on. Just one more point on the autonomous zone. An interesting point that was raised. The first thing they did was seal it and have a very secure border. But presumably the same people were criticising Donald Trump for wanting to do that on America's border with Mexico.
And indeed our border, Julian. The thing is, I would say this to anybody. You know, and this people will say I'm now definitely far right from what I'm going to say now, because this argument has been used before, but it's just a logical argument, and logic shouldn't be confused with the far right. You don't leave the front door open at night. Why don't you leave the front door open at night? Because somebody who's a bit naughty, a bit nasty might come in and do bad things to you or your family. It's that bloody simple.
Unless you live in Canada, where there's far less crime, apparently.
Well, it's a bigger place, and you know they've got bears to worry about.
Yeah, that's
they do lock their doors.
Well, I'm referencing Michael Moore, who in his documentary went knocking on the door.
I recall, Julian, yes.
Yeah. Sorry, we've deja vu again. Look, do you want to join me to watch Major, and then we'll free the line up for the far left, or maybe a Liberal Democrat? All right,
I won't watch it. I'll just listen to it.
No problem. Unfortunately, you might not hear it this end, but they're going to hear it, and I'll transliterate it. Here it goes.
Good morning. She kept
I've had to
referring
bleep out
to the Indians as... No, I said. Those are the West Indians. These people... Oh, no, she said all cricketers.
So that was the dottery old Major there saying that he took a woman to, I think, the cricket to watch India, and the woman was saying those people are an N-word, and he said, no, I won't have that. They're a different racist word. I think the W word. So the joke is on him, surely. that
Yeah.
we're laughing at the racist.
Well, we're laughing at, in a way, we're laughing at a mindset that was, okay, so he was a racist in a sense.
But he's also portrayed as a silly old fool. He's drunk all the time. Aren't we saying you shouldn't be like this silly character?
The comical aspect is he doesn't know he's doing it. He's not doing it out of being malicious.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna do something out of being malicious, right? There's a purpose because you're being malicious. If you're not aware, being ignorant, if you grew up and never seen, if you grew up in a country where you'd never seen a white person, or you were white and you'd never saw a black person, and then the first time you saw one as a small child, you might well point at that individual. Mummy, Daddy, why are they a different colour to me? Perhaps would be the question you would ask. It wouldn't necessarily mean that child was racist.
And adults are often very embarrassed about it, and they say, "Oh no, don't." And the innocent child doesn't say anything. In the chat, Jordan M has said, "I'm all for getting rid of words and terms that offend." Let's argue the toss and say those words that the Major uses in Fawlty Towers, because people have heard them so many times when they were being insulted by them, might they be upset to hear them again, or should we get the context? It's a difficult one because everyone's going to feel different, aren't they?
They are, and you hit the nail on the head. Everyone's going to feel different. So if you've got, I don't know how many billion people on planet Earth, and they all feel different, how many interpretations of offence can we have? Well, we can have an individual interpretation of offence for every individual on planet Earth. That means there'd be no communication, there'd be nothing said, because you might well offend somebody. Well, I'm sorry. Tough luck, mate. Tough luck. You can't go around being offended. I mean, on one hand, look, someone's going to have a little rant here, Julian. On one hand, we're told people are strong and people of culture, people of ethnicities are strong people, right? So why are they so worried? Why is anybody, not they, anybody, whether you're white, black, Chinese, yellow, pink, it doesn't matter where you're from, an alien even, why are you so worried if somebody doesn't like you? Because, believe me, in my life, Julian, as you can probably imagine, I've met plenty of people that don't like me. And they're the same colour as me. Am I more offended if they don't like me because they're a different colour than me? No, I'm not.
Yeah, life is a broad spectrum, and there will always be difference.
Yeah. I mean, I've got something I want to put out there, if you don't mind.
Go on, PK.
Right, okay. I went to school in the 70s and 80s in Britain, right? Okay, and most of my school was predominantly white, okay? I can't help that. That's just the way it was. Now, when I was at school, people used to take the piss out of each other and bully each other and stuff like this, okay? And if you had a big nose, you'd have the mickey taken out of you. If you had ears that stuck out, you'd be called wingnut. You'd have the mickey taken out of you. If you were a ginger, you'd be called ginger, and ginger nut and all this.
And they called you tripod, isn't that right, PK?
Well, they called me a short ass.
Okay.
Called me a short ass wingnut, big nosed bastard.
Oh dear, I'm sorry to hear that.
Luckily for me, Julian, I wasn't ginger.
Oh wow, that would have topped it off.
Now my point I'm trying to get to is this. Children and people use difference as a means of attack. Okay? So, if you and I, Julian, are the same colour, which we are, if there's a difference which is very great between each of us, now it can't be slightly greying hair, you've got that, I believe?
Yes, yeah, we've got a full colour picture here.
So have I. So it might be very difficult for me to find something to attack you with. However, if you had a bald head, I might be able to attack you with that. Now, that said, what we do as peoples is we look for difference to create hurt when we attack. Therefore, if the greatest difference is colour, you're going to say, I'm not going to swear, Julian, but I'm going to pretend to. You're going to say, you be,
sure,
blah, 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 bastard. Right?
Yeah.
And why are you going to say that in the heat of an argument? Because the greatest difference is your colour. Now, if that person of colour, let's say, had ginger hair, if you attack them with the ginger hair thing first, or only, does that make it more right than the other? But the point I'm trying to make is this. It's that we use, when we're in an argument with someone, we use our greatest difference that we perceive as to be the greatest offence to the person we're attacking. And once you understand that, you understand that racism is nothing, because all you're doing is using the difference to attack them. If you really think that anybody there is a few people that walk around hating people of different colour. But in the heat of the moment, I've been called white trash in an argument. I don't think that person was really racist. I think they just did it to hurt my feelings.
In a similar way that people will often resort to insulting each other's mothers, because that is meant to evoke some kind of emotional reaction, which I think is a particularly disgusting thing to do, but it says more about the person saying it than about your mum or whoever.
It's story on that, Julian.
Yeah.
I was in a pub in a city in Bristol, and there was a guy come up to me and he said, "Your mother is a whore." And this was in an area where there's a lot of whores,
right,
around in Bristol. And I said, "Oh, have you met her then?" She said,
"Yeah."
Sorry. The whole pub started laughing.
There's something very empowering by being unoffendable. Maybe you're near that level.
Yeah, so
well, that's good, because in the chat there was a message that got sent, that got filtered out. It said, "This guy's an idiot," but the AI took it out. Yeah, whoever that was who's saying that PK's an idiot, tell us why, or you could phone up as soon as he's off the line, 07491 751 203, and maybe we'll find out why.
This question, Julian, right, which is logically, right, if you want to offend someone, you're going to use the greatest difference, right? So what is wrong with that fallacy? What is wrong with that proposition that I've made? Because if there's two white people that are having a grievance, right, I can't call him a black person. I can't call him a black so-and-so, can I, to really offend him, right?
There's also the theory that we hate in other people what we see in ourselves. And sometimes it's the people that are the closest in culture that hate each other the most. Sunni and Shia Muslim, I don't know if you tell the difference walking down the street. Catholic and Protestant in Belfast are same colour, same race, it's almost same everything, but to them it's so different. And I think we dislike sometimes people that are similar because we feel like they're trying to steal our identity or something. I've never understood that, how the Rwandan genocide was between black tribes that look the same to me, how what happened in Darfur, same again. Ireland, you could even say that the Holocaust was white Christians killing white Jewish people. But hate runs deep for some reason.
You're right, Julian. You hit the nail on the head. Now, with the Irish thing, I worked on the Channel Tunnel a long time ago, and I worked with Irishmen of Catholic and Protestant faiths. And the guys I worked with weren't particularly religious one way or the other, and I used to babysit from. I was a very young man then, and I asked them about the Troubles, and their answer to me was, "There's people making money out of it."
Okay. Yes, I think after the 80s, it did become all about drugs and control of territory and criminal gangs. I think that's probably a very fair comment. But someone with more knowledge will need to talk to me.
Yeah. But it's like I don't go around trying to offend anybody. I mean, for me, what
you do it so effortlessly, PK.
Sorry?
You do it so effortlessly. I'm joking.
Yeah. No, for me, what the thing is really, I think it's ideologies rather than colour. And I think, for example, you could get a white person who's a Muslim, and someone from Pakistan that's a Muslim, and there's obviously a genetic difference there in heritage, etc. But the ideology may well be the same. Are you still there? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
you're absolutely right. And
so my point is it really ideology which is the main crux of the problem we have at the moment, rather than colour? Because to be honest, mate, I'm not going to say, oh, I'm not racist, but because I don't believe in that. I've got mates that are black, and I've got mates that are not black. I don't mean white. I mean other ethnicities. And we all sit around the table, we have a laugh, we tell jokes and take the piss out of each other, and some of those jokes are racist and some of them aren't, or perceived racist by what you would call political correctness today. But we're not offended. We are not offended.
yeah, and that's because you know each other and you know where you're coming from.
We have a bonding.
Yeah.
And I don't understand. I mean, Julian, why ask the people, and please ask them, why am I so outrageous for saying what I say? Why are people so offended, Julian? Why don't people have a tough skin on them? You know, in my day when I was brought up, as your day, Julian, sticks and stones will break my bones, but names will never hurt me. Just bloody words.
It's a very good point. PK, I want to open the line up in case the far left want to respond. But once again, thank you for spending time with us tonight. We enjoy having you here.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much. I'm sorry I missed the other night. I was working late. I only got in, just tuned in for the last 5 minutes, and I really think I missed something there. But there you are.
No problem, PK. Thank you very much. Always welcome.
Can I just say before I go, my love to everyone that's listening. I don't hate you. I'm not a fucking Nazi, and everyone should be able to view their opinions. And if you disagree with me, that's fine.
We might hear some disagreement in a minute. PK, thank you so much, mate.
And you, mate. Take care.
See you again.
Look forward to the rest of the show. Bye-bye.
Good man. There goes PK making very relevant points as usual. And if you think he's an idiot, it's 07491751203. Maybe you can tell me why, or if you want to react to anything he said. The next clip here is Little Britain.
Yes. Darwin? Don't believe you met my ex-wife, Bubbles.
Hello, baby. So nice to meet you. Don't forget, sugar, we have a honeymoon massage at 10.
Now, those clips will not be shown anymore. I had to struggle to find a clip like that on YouTube, and obviously that's it's not what's he called, the actor that David Walliams has put on blackface, which was, I think, around in the 70s when you had the black and white minstrel show. It seems strange watching it now. There's nothing to make you feel old, like when they start banning the programs that you think were not really that long ago. I mean, Little Britain, I know it's been, what was it, 10 or 15 years, but it feels like yesterday. And it would be up to black people to tell you whether that is offensive or not. But he's not just portraying a black person when he's a white person. He's a man portraying a woman. Is that offensive to women? Should men be allowed to cross-dress? We still have drag queens, and cross-dressing is seen as something comical. I don't know if Lily Savage is still around, or Dame Edna. Maybe in another 10 or 15 years from now, we'll be looking back on that with horror and saying it's just as wrong for a man to dress up as a woman to have a laugh as it is for a white person to dress up as a black person, male or female, to have a laugh. But interestingly, we're quite okay about a man dressing up as a woman and claiming that they are, he, she, ze, they are now an actual woman. And you did have the case a while back of, I think it was Rachel Dolezal, who was a white lady claiming that she was a black woman. And a lot of the people that are very ready to accept people changing their gender were very reluctant to accept someone changing their race. And meanwhile, a lot of people will tell you that race is actually just a social construct and it doesn't actually exist. There's no biological significance to it. And if that is what the science tells you, then maybe you're right, but then couldn't we all just choose our race? I get the sense that we can't even comprehend what we will think about these things now, because I watched Little Britain, I watched Bo Selector, and at the time I had no sense of this being racist, because I think I kind of thought we were living in a post-racist world and that the civil rights movement had happened and that racism was now illegal. And of course it still happened, but when it did, it was criminalised and people were punished for it. The London Met acknowledged that they had a problem of institutionalised racism. Maybe we were just in the eye of the storm when you don't really realise what's going on around you, and I was completely blind to the racism of David Walliams blacking himself up. But I thought the good thing was we were laughing at the character, at the person who, here comes the cliche, happened to be black. But if he's playing off a stereotype, and someone said today that he's portraying a unattractive black female and relying on that stereotype, then maybe it is offensive. But I know people at PK will be saying we need to have a thicker skin. I don't know. I'd never really make my mind up before I come on here. I just throw this together and talk it out with you lot, and I appreciate the interaction and the debate. So if there's anyone on the far left who wants to argue the toss, you're welcome to call me, or you can put it in the comments. Jamie P is saying just ban comedy. Simple. I wonder how far away we are from banning comedy. Surely not. But they do say comedy should always punch down. And I think that's the problem with some of the less PC comics. I think, was it not Bernard Manning? I think Bernard Manning wrongly gained a racist reputation. I think he was more tongue-in-cheek than some people would let on. But if the audience don't get it, the problem with Alf Garnett, who was actually portrayed by a Jewish actor, and the character Alf Garnett is racist, homophobic, and of course anti-Semitic. But he was saddened by the fact that some fans of the comedy would come up to him, clearly hadn't got the comedy, and they just thought he was somebody having a pop. Yeah, well done, Alf. You told him like it is. That's the trouble. Comedy is it's missed on a lot of people. A lot of people miss the point. A lot of people miss the joke. But surely we need to educate those people. We can only benefit if we become more informed, and we can only become more informed if we talk to each other, if we have these conversations, if we listen to the other side, the people that annoy you, the people that you dislike, that you disagree with, and that's how we'll all move forward. In the chat, Triple T is saying, nah, it's just a laugh. Well, it might be just a laugh to you, Triple T, but to some people, it's their broken heart, it's their tears, isn't it? Bernard Manning, I've always said there should be more gays. Is that what he said? Was he a pioneer of the LGBTQ rights? I dread to think what will happen tonight. Let's hear from one more caller. Who's this? Hello.
It's Andre. It's Andre.
Hello, Andre. We're hearing you loudish and kind of clear. What's your take on the political correctness gone mad?
Well, first of all, I haven't heard your whole show. It just buzzed up on my phone, and I thought I'll call in. Was you talking about cooking and fish and chips?
We hadn't got that far yet. We kicked off the show with Swing Low, Sweet Chariot, the England rugby anthem that is at risk of being banned, like a lot of things these days, because it's come to light slavery. And of course, as you know, racism is bad now because of all that's happened, and now it might be banned, and Prince Harry agrees it should be banned.
So, okay. I need to digest that.
I know, it's just hit you. And do you mind sharing your racial origins with our loving viewers, as we're only hearing your voice?
Yes, I'm Scottish.
He's Scottish. Okay, we've got Andre with Scottish heritage and some Irish in the mix.
Yeah, and some Jamaican in there.
Well, there's a lot of mixing. Some Ghanaian, yeah. Have you done your DNA test?
Sorry?
Have you done your DNA test yet?
No, because I'm only just coming to terms with the Ghanaian, the Jamaican, the Scottish and the Irish. If I start doing the DNA test on top of that, I don't know, it might blow my head off.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if we all did a DNA test...
I might find out I come from every continent.
You might be the world's first superhuman, the $6 million man. I remember that TV program where they did the DNA test and Margaret Thatcher's daughter found out she was 80% African or something crazy. So, yeah, God knows where we're all from. I like that you acknowledge... I think her mum had already passed away, sadly. Yeah, but we won't go down that route. But look, do you find it offensive if drunk white hooligans, as a lot of rugby fans are, is it a game watched by gentlemen, played by thugs, or is that the other way around? Do you find it offensive if they are joyfully, drunkenly singing a black people song with no regard for where it came from and the history?
I think I heard about the song before. I can't. My memory is getting bad lately. I can't remember everything that I study and research, but I'm sure that it rings a bell when you said what you said. But I don't think they know that that's what.
No, they don't. And I admit now, I didn't know. It's news to me. I think we're only better off when we know. Surely the knowledge, isn't it a good thing? I can't see other than the arrogance of not knowing. But
what I will say is this: sometimes ignorance is bliss, isn't it? Because what it is, now you've gone and educated them and told them where it comes from. That's when all the monkey chants or something like that might start getting added into the song. I don't know.
I hope not.
Well, I don't know. I'm seeing some ridiculous things on Facebook with regards to the neck breaking of George Floyd. So, I've seen, there's pictures out there, people, demonstrating neck breaking as a joke and all that kind of stuff. So at the end of the day, sometimes it's better not to tell these people and let them sing it in ignorance, and it could be taken, we who know could take it that they're honouring the dead.
Yeah, it's a difficult one. I have to say, I don't think there's been much racism in the history of rugby. I could be wrong. Football hooliganism has obviously been synonymous with racism over the years, but maybe it's because there's been far fewer rugby players that they didn't have the bananas thrown at them that the black footballers did. Is it a different type of person that goes to rugby? I don't know.
Football was serious. Football was very, very serious. There were some players like Bobby Pouget. I got that right. Is it right, Bobby Pouget? My brother, who is a lot older than me, he had a lot of pro football players that used to come around the house with those friends of him. He had some players that used to play, I can't remember the names now, but some players that used to play for Birmingham City and stuff like that. And
did they call them the 3 degrees? Was it Cecil Regis? Was he one of them?
I can't remember, mate.
Okay, yeah. But they were pioneers in black football in England.
Pioneers, and they were always saying about how fruit was getting thrown at them. It wasn't just bananas, but they used to throw things at them and all that when they're coming through the thing. You know, it was ridiculous, mate. It was ridiculous. So, but look, I'm not being funny. I mean, I don't count, you know, because we talk about sport. But the latter part of my junior school, going through to the first year of my secondary school, my Parker coat, I would take my Parker coat and hang it up at home, and it was covered in greeny spit.
Sorry.
On a regular basis.
That's all. That is awful, Andre. And do you feel that times have changed? Do you think black kids growing up now have a better chance of not suffering racism like that? And I've been corrected in the chat. It was Cyril Regis. Thank you to Alfie for letting me know. Cyril Regis.
To be honest with you, they won't be able to relate to what I go through. But I mean, I'm a different breed. I just take these things. I just take these things and get hardened to it. I mean, personally, you know, I don't know what to say really with it. I don't want
to. It's a tough, emotive subject, Andre.
Say that again, my friend.
It's a tough, emotive subject. PK is suggesting maybe it's because you were a mod, not a biker. There were hate attacks, I'm sure, between different, what were they, trends, the mods and the rockers. But I think there's something worse about being on the receiving end of something you cannot change. You can change your fashion sense, but you can't change the colour of your skin. And as PK said earlier on, we attack difference.
Just to let people know, in the early days, there were a lot of black skinheads.
Okay, I believe so. Even in the football hooligan scene, there were famous black hooligans, right?
Well, remember, skinheads back in the days were actually, you know, they were major supporters of the scat music, which obviously originated, which was the music which my parents would have listened to.
Funny enough, I spoke to a football hooligan once at the Ban the Burqa rally, and he was proudly telling me that he wasn't racist. I love ska music, as you mentioned, and he showed me certain tattoos. I sensed what he might have been saying was, I don't mind black people. It's them other ones I'm not too sure about. But is that because black people have been in this country longer, share more culture and traditions and maybe religion now? Would that be a fair comment?
Jules, look, at the end of the day, we were slaves. We were slaves for a long time, and then we integrated. We've been mixing with Europeans for 400 odd years, 500 years. So at the end of the day, what's happened is you know, and then we came here from World War I onwards. So at the end of the day, we understand the European. We may still be different, but into reactions is kind of different. Now, my learned friend here just said to me, so did we, but what's happened is it's slightly different. Asians held their culture. They were allowed to hold their culture. They were subjugated, but it's slightly different. We came in and integrate, and there's a key. These are just a couple of points I'm mentioning. Here's the third and the major point. There is a control situation with racism that the European allows coloured people of different colour to be able to in different degrees to maintain wealth, right? But when they're constantly passing money over to a certain breed of people, right, and these people are maintaining culture and blatantly different to them, they don't like it. And what's happened is that's why I think that targeting, baby. I mean, when I was growing up, I told you before, innit, as I was growing up, you know, packy bashing was a regular thing. You know, not in black people, but in European people. Saying they're going packy bashing that was like a hobby. Do you understand?
Sadly, yes.
In the 70s, you know, I mean, that word probably don't even exist to this society, but we used to hear them saying it all the time. Packy bashing was a major thing, and That is what I'm trying to say to you. They wouldn't really do it with us, not because they like us anymore, but it's because they know our mentality is different. I think we are more warlike because of what we've been through with certain things. It's not to say that the Asian and the Sikh wasn't warlike, but I think what it is there was an understanding of, oh, look, you know, sort out wealth. We want our children to become doctors. We want our children to become this. You know, forget about the criminal records, blah, blah, blah. Our parents would say that. My mum would say to me, blatant, if police take you home because you've been causing trouble, I'm going to beat you. But if I find out, right, that, you know, you were being attacked and you didn't defend yourself, I'm going to beat you. So there was a clear divide there that, you know, don't cause trouble, but you best defend yourself. Otherwise, right, I'm not raising no carrot. Do you understand? And I mean, my mom was, when I got older, my mom said when I was young, she was on the way to the army barracks to make, because she was an army chef, about 6 o'clock in the morning, and 2 kids was across the road. 2 guys was across the road. So they couldn't have been kids, actually, thinking about it at the time now. But they threw a brick in her chest and knocked her down. You know, and she got up, she picked up the brick and went over there and beat the 2 of them. And this story's been backed up by a couple of my aunties, but my mum wasn't present, who said that. So clearly that's what happened. But that's the kind of robustness, rock and tough that we had to have.
So what's your take on having a thick skin then? That's obviously literally being able to take physical punishment. That's the sticks and the stones. What about the names?
Well,
name calling.
I grew up with it. What do you mean about thick skin?
Sorry, I mean, you might have not caught it earlier on. We were suggesting that
we're supposed to have thick skin, so we should just put up with the names, or what do you mean?
It was suggested earlier on that people that are tough, as you say, should be able to deal with a bit of name calling or poking fun. But maybe you're suggesting the reason why your people have integrated well is because they wouldn't put up with anything. They would fight back and maybe were seen as strong. I don't want to put words in your mouth or other people's.
I used to beat down. The word nigger for me was beat down. If you said, if I heard that word come out of somebody's mouth,
you would retaliate straight away. Huh?
And it was a standard procedure when I was growing up. Now if I heard the word, I would say, yeah, no. Thanks for pointing out the obvious. Yeah, I mean, I would look at it different. It depends on the scenario that's being said. If somebody said it to me over the telephone in an argument, or just, he was the only one in the car and he said it as I was driving past, I would say, yeah, I know. Are you stupid or something? I know that. Do you know what I mean? But
what's changed for you?
If it was a car full of people and the guy shouted that out the window, right, and I saw the rest in the car laughing, or he's saying it in front of them, look, I would beat him. I would get out of the car and make a point to beat him in front of them. So, and to be honest with you, and you might think, oh, well, why are you doing that? I'm doing it actually to save his life in a funny way. Although I feel offended, but I'm doing it to save his life, because if he had said that in front of somebody else, I'd probably stab him. So, in a way, I'm helping him out. I've got to do my community duty.
And you always do it. And we appreciate it on here. Andre, thank you very much, mate. And I don't advise anyone to insult Andre in a car or anywhere else.
I hope that answers your question. I'm not sure if that really does answer your question.
There's always more questions than answers anyway. But you've injected a little something, a little melanin into the show, and we really appreciate that. And Jamie P is saying good call. So there you go. Thank you.
Don't be racist.
Sorry, I take it back. You can't say anything these days. Thank you, Andre. Cheers, mate. Thank you, wonderful. Yeah, there goes Andre. If you didn't know, multiple times cruiserweight Muay Thai champion of the world, and proud to say, friend of the show. Whoa, what a show it was. Sorry if I offended anyone, or sorry if I didn't offend you. Sorry if I only offended certain sections of our community and left other people out. And thank you, PK. Thank you, Andre. Thank you, Saj. Always a great contributor to the show. Thank you, Triple T. But you should have phoned up Triple T. We love to hear from you. Hopefully you'll join us next time. It's been great. We'll probably do another one tomorrow night. Thank you for watching. Stay safe. Don't hate each other. Be kind to each other. And this has been Lessons for Life, and we will do it all again soon. We were here, and we are gone. Vegas.